put a price on carbon? Let's explore the basics of carbon fee and dividend policies. Our three learning goals are exploring why putting a price on carbon emitting fuels is important, what elements there are to carbon fee and dividend strategies for pricing carbon, and how this drives change. To do this, here's Joe Robertson, CCL's Global Strategies Director.
Anything that moves through our economy has value. Sometimes value is quantifiable, as with a gallon of milk, which is bought and sold in stores. Sometimes value cannot be expressed in dollars and cents and can only be seen through trace relationships, as with rainwater, which is not typically bought or sold. Carbon dioxide molecules emitted from burning fuel are not usually sold as such, but they are tied to much of what we do in our everyday interaction with the economy. Carbon based fuels have always been the dominant source of energy powering the industrial of the world. When we produce energy, heat, or electricity, we tend to use fuels that are burned and which then emit greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We pay the retail price for access to this energy, but we don't pay for the distortionary impact of pollution costs or the destabilization of our climate system, at least not at retail. Fossil fuel burning is a direct cause of climate disruption, extreme weather, sea level rise, ecosystem destruction, which cascades into a host of resulting health and economic burdens. These costs are accelerating and will do so until we address the root cause. These costs don't show up when we pay at the pump. They don't show up on our monthly heating or electric bill. In other words, they are externalized, paid for outside of the business model, not priced into the retail product or service, and so remain generally hidden from view. The cost of burning fossil fuels is folded into many other aspects of our daily lives. The cost of maintaining air quality, the cost of combating lung disease, the cost of rebuilding homes and lives following natural disasters, which are exacerbated by climate disruption, the cost of pests and pathogens spreading into areas where we haven't adapted to them, the cost of paying for subsidies that make it easier for the industry to profit, the cost associated with extractive economies that vanish once the mine is empty or the well is dry, the cost of cleaning up pollution. Old mining towns might now have little economic activity, a few hundred residents, all with higher than average health costs, and an environmental cleanup bill in the billions. Of course, it is unlikely state or local authorities will ever pay for that cleanup, so the town may remain mired in a stagnant for decades. That brings other costs like chronic illness, drug use, and economic depression. There are also opportunity costs folded into everything we do. The lost opportunity of profiting for a longer period of time from a more diverse economy with clean energy and also clean air and water, lower health costs, and sound fiscal standing. The lost opportunity of all we could not invest in, schools, roads, small business loans, because money was needed for disaster relief, rebuilding, and repair following floods, storms, wildfires, and crop failures, due in part to climate change. Even US government funding for advanced research and development, from basic science to technological applications, the kind of investment that got us to the moon and won the Cold War. If we base our strategy for moving people into an expanding middle class on heavily subsidized extraction-based industries, then we are creating an unstable Main Street economy. These extractive industries have a limited lifespan, are expensive to finance, often rely on taxpayer support for the life of the business and to clean up in the aftermath, and can deprive people of health, education, prosperity, and redress. Periodic price shocks, expanding income inequality, and the risks inherent in any large-scale single-focus investment all make extraction-based economies vulnerable to collapse. Proverbial wisdom says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. All of that instability affects all of us. We are connected to it through the reliance of our Main Street economies on these heavily subsidized extraction-based industries and a system of taxation that focuses on generating profits for the industries that create this instability. The solution? Put a price on carbon. The idea is simple. We have no way to make, distribute, and use carbon-based fuels without generating these costs. So a carbon price adds to the cost of doing business in resources that emit greenhouse gases because we want to reveal the hidden costs that no one is taking responsibility for at present. We don't see greenhouse gas emissions. We don't see much of the particulate pollution. So we don't see the destabilizing qualities of a heavily subsidized extraction based economy until the collapse happens. Getting that price right means making the market tell the truth. And that means ordinary people like you and I, consumers, small businesses, taxpayers, will recover the market leverage we're supposed to have to determine whether we do something that is too costly or not. When markets fail, they create a bubble of inflated value, which can expand only so far before it bursts and the air goes out of it. Corrections can happen spontaneously and chaotically, as when the so called housing bubble burst in 2008 and property values fell suddenly, undermining a property dependent financial system. Smart carbon pricing is simply a deliberate action to correct the market's failure so chaos never comes. The simplest way to enact this policy solution can be thought of as a three-legged stool. One, charge a fee, which increases steadily where the carbon emitting fuel enters the economy at the first point of sale after the mine, the well, or the port of entry. Two, return the money to households evenly to return leverage to families and small businesses through the Main Street economy. Three, apply an adjustment at the border to ensure other countries can't cheat or lure American businesses offshore. We call this solution Carbon Fee and Dividend. The Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act is a bipartisan bill based on this model. CCL fully supports this bill and is working diligently toward its passage. By pricing at the source, it covers the whole economy while only requiring a few thousand entities to comply. It requires no further administrative or regulatory change. Those entities are already subject to IRS compliance monitoring. While the affected companies will logically pass most of the cost along, the whole economy is covered by both the fee and the dividend. By returning money to households, it re-enters the economy in a way where it can cover pass-through costs for most households, no matter where the consumer finds them. The steady annual increase in the fee creates two important benefits. First, the pressure to change falls directly on the profit margins of the polluting industry. Second, everyone has clear, predictable information about their needed rate of transition to cleaner practices. The dividend to households not only prevents the rising fee from harming the economy, it repairs the damage done by taxpayer dollars being taken from the Main Street economy and handed to expensive industries. Main Street economic activity becomes the engine for the transition. The border adjustment allows the United States to require compliance of trading partners and spread smart carbon pricing globally. Why price carbon? Because it is much more expensive not to. Why fee and dividend? Because it corrects the market failure in a predictable, efficient, and transparent way, returning leverage to families and small businesses through the Main Street economy.